What if you could create and launch an online course and you knew for sure that it was going to be a success because people were buying it from you before you even finished making it? Yes, that is possible, and I'm going to show you how to do it based on a real-world example in this video. In fact, in this video, I'm going to reveal the entire launch map that I used to pre-launch a course to my audience, and I'll show you step by step every single page that I created, every email I wrote, every step in the process. This is an online course that I launched rapid implementation style, and it took me less than 2 weeks to go from idea to wrapping up my launch. And I had sold 394 copies before I even started making the first lesson of my online course. This is important because, like we talked about in the last video, lots of entrepreneurs are always wasting lots of time on all the wrong things and putting off something like actually launching their course basically forever. Well, this is the other extreme, and I did this to prove that it's possible. Before we get into the detailed steps of this launch plan, let me make something clear. I really wanted to prove that anyone can do this. And this is why for this course launch, I didn't launch this to the Thrive Themes audience. Instead, I launched it on my side hustle blog. And I also didn't use anyone on my team. I didn't use any resources that I usually have. So I kept the budget absolutely minimal, and every single piece of work that was done for this product launch was done by me, by myself alone. So yes, I was basically handicapping myself here, and I was putting myself in the shoes of someone who's essentially doing this for the first time. All this to make one point. This is possible, and you too can do this even as a solopreneur on a minimal budget. So let's get into how it's done. This launch plan consists of 5 main steps. Step 1 is validation. So the first thing we want to do is we want to validate our idea. We want to find out, do people actually want this thing before we spend a lot of time and effort creating a product? How do we do this? This brings us to email number 1. The very first thing I did is I sent an email to my audience, which basically said, hey, I'm planning to create a productivity course, and over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be releasing some content on the topic of productivity. If this is something you're interested in, if productivity is something to struggle with and you want to improve, click this link to let me know. All this email does is it asks people to indicate interest. So when they click on this link in my email marketing system, they are tagged as interested in productivity, and they're the ones who will get all the subsequent emails. Now, why do I do this? It's because right away, I want to validate my idea. If I send out that email and almost nobody clicks on that link, nobody gets tagged as interested in productivity, well, that's a sign right away that I'm barking up the wrong tree. And I would rather learn that my idea is flawed right here on day 1 in the process, rather than go and build an entire online course and then find out nobody wants to buy it. In my case, I got a decent number of clicks on this link, which gave me the green light to go ahead with the launch. This brings us to step number 2. Sales page first. So the next thing I do is I start building a sales page for my online course. Yes, sales page before anything else. I make a super minimal sales page at first. It looks like this. All it basically says is it has a title advertising a productivity course. It has a sales video, which is a very simple, short message. And then it tells people, hey, this is a pre-launch. In 2 weeks, I'm starting an online course, but right now you can buy it for 50% off. And so I'm letting people buy my course right away. What I'm doing here is called a lean sales page, which means I publish the minimum viable version of a sales page first. Basically, it only has a headline, a short message, and a buy button. And then once that's published, once people are already going there, over time, I keep improving it. And I'll show you a bit more about how I expanded the sales page as the pre-launch was going. But first, yes, there's a sales video on this page. And maybe you're wondering, okay, but how do I make a sales video? Well, the reason there's a sales video is because for me, that's the easiest kind of content to create. I could have also just written a very simple sales letter. But for this sales video, like I said, I was doing everything as a solopreneur. So I kept this as simple as possible. In terms of equipment, the totality of equipment I used to make this sales video, as well as all the other videos in the launch sequence, was a GoPro, a small tripod, and a regular tripod. And that's all. And in fact, the GoPro wouldn't even be necessary. The only reason I used it is because the phone I used at the time had some kind of a problem and the video files would always corrupt. If I did this again now, I would just use my phone to record the videos because the quality is just about the same. When using your phone to record, you can use a simple clamp that allows you to attach it to a tripod and you're good to go. I recorded all of my videos outdoors so that I wouldn't need artificial light. And it's really one of the easiest ways to make a nice looking video is to just be outdoors in front of a nice looking background. As for what do I say in this sales video? Well, remember we talked about the outcome-oriented course in the last video? This is basically what I use to advertise my course too. In the video, I simply explain why I'm making this course and what the outcome is that I will help my student achieve. And I talk as if I were talking to a friend. See, I'm not a fan of doing like highly scripted, super salesy sales messages. Instead, I just talk to the camera like I'm explaining why I'm making this course and why I think it's going to be great, just as if you were sitting across the table from me. And that ends up in a natural and convincing sounding sales message. Once again, my goal here is not to make the best, most polished sales video. My goal is to make something simple, publish it, and move on. This brings us to step number 3 in our process, which is opening the pre-sale. So now my online course is not available yet, but people can get the 50% off pre-sale. They can basically say, I'm going to pre-order this course for 50% off, and as soon as it's available, I get access. That's the offer on the sales page. So the next thing I do, and this is only 2 days after sending the initial email, I send my second email saying, hey, this productivity course I mentioned, it is now available for pre-order, and here's the link. The email links to my lean sales page, and so right now people can start signing up and paying for my course. And this is the second step of validation. The first step of validation is to see, are people actually interested in this topic? Are people interested in general? The second step of validation is, are they willing to pay for it? Once again, this gives us a chance to fail early, and that's a good thing, right? If it turns out that nobody buys this course, even though lots of people indicated interest, I right away know something's wrong. Something about the sales message is wrong, or something else is wrong. And I would start talking to people to try and figure out how to fix it before moving on. In my case, people started buying. And so again, that's a green light to continue the sequence. The other thing that's happening here is that while sales are running, I'm starting to update the sales page. And I just start adding a bit more detail about what's going to be in the course, maybe tell a bit of a story about why I'm creating the course, start listing some benefits. And I do that while the sales page is already receiving traffic. I'm just gradually, step by step, updating it. This is also a step where I can use the feedback I'm getting, because when I send out the email saying, hey, buy my course here, and it's a very minimal sales page, I get some replies from people asking me specific questions. Hey, will your course cover this? Will you do that? When exactly does it start? And so on and so forth. This gives me information about what kind of doubts and objections people have, and it tells me exactly what I should add to the sales page in order to help people get off the fence and make the purchase. So I'm not just like randomly expanding the sales page, I'm actually expanding the sales page based on the feedback I'm getting from my audience. Step 4 in our strategy is important and often neglected. Step 4 is all about the customer experience. First impressions matter. And even though we're keeping everything here rapid and lean, we still want to make sure that people have a really positive experience. Here's the one thing that we need to avoid at all costs. Think about it like this. Someone comes to your lean sales page, they see your offer and they say, yes, this sounds good, I'm going to pre-order this. And they give you their money. What happens next? What we need to avoid is that what happens next is we just dump people on a generic thank you page. It says, oh, thanks for your money, see you later. No. The next page here is a custom thank you page that I created, which has a video, again, just a very simple video of me saying, hey, thanks for your purchase, and more information about what comes next. On this page, I want to acknowledge that, yes, you've successfully pre-ordered this product, and here's what happens next. I want to set very clear expectations. This is the date when it starts. We'll be communicating by email. Check your email for the receipt. I want to make it very clear about what happens next and what to expect. Even just putting in the effort to make this custom thank you page with a custom message shows that you care and makes for a much better customer experience. But I added another step here. I linked people to a survey, and to make this survey, I just used Google Forms. You can use that for free. It's very simple. So I just linked to a Google form, and I told people, look, this is basically the first step in the course you just bought. Take some time to go through this survey and answer these questions. And the survey is designed to do 2 things. Number 1, it's designed to get people to think about, what are my goals? What do I want from this course? And to get people to start thinking about their goals and to commit to using the course that's upcoming to reach those goals. The second thing it's designed to do is to give me more insight about who my customers are. So this survey isn't just something that gives people a better customer experience and it immediately gives them a bit of value and something to do. It's also something that will help me make a better course for them. Once again, this gives me more information that I can use to make a better sales page and bring more people into the process from there. So after a couple of days, this is what my sales page looks like. At this point, it's still very, very simple. I have no custom images, no custom designs, nothing complicated. It's basically just text, a few colored boxes, and a few icons. Now, let's get to the final part of our launch map, which is the non-salesy launch sequence. I'm sure you've seen many product launches online. And if you're like most people, you go, okay, that's kind of nice, but I don't really want to do that. Most people don't like to come across as like the slimy, salesy car salesman. And a lot of these online product launches have that type of vibe. The way I did this product launch was both simpler than the typical type of product launch and also less salesy and less slimy. And here's how it works. I create a content piece, which is essentially a regular content piece, the kind of stuff that I would usually publish on my blog anyway. In this case, it was a video related to productivity. I put that video on my blog and I add some text to the blog post and I publish that. So it's just a blog post. It's not a fancy launch funnel landing page or something. It's just a blog post on my website. And I then send an email to my list that simply links to this content piece. So this is the payoff of the original email that I sent a few days ago where I asked people to indicate interest, right? I said, hey, if you want to learn about productivity, click this link. So a few days later, they get an email that says, here's an important thing about productivity. And it sends them to this blog post with a video where they can learn something useful. And then quite simply, I repeat this same step 2 more times. I wait for 2 days and then publish another blog post, which is again a video with some productivity tips. And I send an email that links to video number 2. And then another 2 days later, I create video number 3. Once again, just another video with some useful tips on productivity and an email linking to that video. This is basically my launch sequence. Now, so far, this looks like just regular content marketing. I'm publishing content and I'm sending links to it to my mailing list. So what's different here? Well, because this is a product launch, there is a bit of marketing secret sauce that I add into the mix. And it's really simple. Here's what I do. On my website, I create a ribbon that appears at the top of the screen. It appears after a couple of seconds and then sticks to the top of the screen. And on this ribbon, I simply advertise, hey, I am launching a productivity course, get 50% off, click here. That ribbon links to my sales page. I display this ribbon site-wide. Everywhere on my website, if you come to a blog post or the homepage or wherever, you will see that ribbon. So what does this do? This ribbon basically funnels traffic from everywhere on my website towards my sales page. And it's especially effective on those blog posts I'm releasing in my non-salesy launch sequence. So they're coming to these blog posts, they're learning something useful about productivity, plus they see this reminder that says, hey, by the way, there's a productivity course coming and you can get 50% off right now. I'm basically making sure that however people get to these content pieces, there is essentially a reminder of a relevant offer that also has a time limit that they can get to. Because the 50% off offer is only during my pre-launch sequence. As I mentioned before, all of these content pieces are made with the same rapid implementation approach as was the sales video. I was even traveling at the time, and one of the videos I recorded in the lobby of a hotel where I was at the time. And the production quality on these things wasn't great, but like we talked about in the last video, it's all about substance. I have a sense of what people in my audience struggle with, and I can help them solve some of their problems. And that's why they value these videos, and that's why this sequence works. Plus, I don't have to worry about, doing all kinds of fancy marketing stuff. Personally, I really prefer this approach. It lets me focus on what I like to do best and what I'm best at. I like to create content, I like to teach, and I like to interact with my audience. So I'm using this way of launching my product because it lets me focus on my strengths. I'm sure you've heard that it takes multiple touch points before someone makes a purchase decision. And this is something I'm making use of here. As you can see, I'm giving people multiple chances to go to my sales page and learn about my upcoming product and decide whether they want to buy or not. This is deliberate. Not many people will buy the first time I mention the product and send to my lean sales page. But as they keep getting more content on the topic of productivity and they keep being reminded that there's a productivity course coming, more and more people warm up to the idea and more sales come in. There's one more bonus strategy that I want to show you here and one more element in our launch map that I want to mention. And this is about email marketing. Just as with everything else we've talked about, the risk here is to overcomplicate it. If you have an advanced email marketing tool, there's all kinds of fancy stuff you can do with that. You can do all kinds of automations and segmentations and so on and so forth. But the risk is really to work too long on the perfect email sequence and never publish it. I'm sure you're familiar with this problem by now. So when it comes to email marketing, just like with everything else, I like to keep things as simple as possible. Here's what I do. Apart from the interest tagging that we already talked about, the only other email marketing rule I use is purchase tagging, which means that once someone actually buys the product, they are tagged in my email marketing system as a customer. What do I do with this information? Two things. The first thing is on email number 5, which is the email that links to my third content piece, I have a PS message at the bottom. So I have the main email that tells people, hey, check out this blog post. And below that, it says, PS, by the way, there's an online course pre-launch happening and the offer is about to go away. Click here to learn more. Basically what I'm doing here is that I'm giving people another reminder in case they haven't gone to the sales page yet, or maybe someone has only been opening my emails but not been clicking through. This is another chance to get some people who are less engaged and make sure everybody knows there is a sale happening. But this PS message is conditional. It only shows to people who do not have the customer tag, because I don't want to waste people's time and attention advertising something that they've already bought. The second thing I do is at the very end of my launch sequence, I send an email that is basically just a sales email for my course. And I only send that email to people who have not been tagged as customers. Again, I don't want to advertise my product to people who've already bought it. In this final email, this is the most salesy email I send. This is all about the course. I tell people why they should buy it. I tell people that there's a 50% off offer and that the offer won't last long. So that's kind of the final push for anyone who hasn't pulled the trigger yet, who's still on the fence. That is the final push. And that's it. That is the entire launch sequence. All of this was pulled together, like I said, in less than 2 weeks and resulted in almost 400 sales before I even created the first lesson in my online course. Now you know exactly how it's done in the real world. And the emphasis, as I'm sure you notice here, is on rapid implementation. My goal is to keep everything as simple and frictionless as possible. Could I have had more success with a more sophisticated launch strategy and more segmentation and more stuff? Maybe, maybe not. The point is, this is a launch sequence that anyone can do, and you can do it quickly. And ultimately, an online course and a product launch that you actually publish and actually finish is going to do far more, both for you and for your customers, than some perfect, complicated, sophisticated sequence that you never finish. If you're not a subscriber yet, make sure you sign up below so you can get a copy of this entire launch map as a PDF so you can use it as a reference, plus all of the email copy that I sent out during this launch. You can get that completely for free by signing up below the video. Also, you'll get notified of my next video, which is going to be about another crucial piece that is really important for being a successful online course entrepreneur. And that is how much to charge for your online course. We're going to talk about pricing and about the one thing that I wish I had known much earlier in my career. So make sure you sign up so you don't miss out on that. Plus, I'd love to hear from you. Is there anything else you would like to learn about how to create and launch online courses successfully? Are there any questions you have after watching this video? Just leave them below as a comment and we'll try to reply to all of them.